Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Manny Talks Shooting, the podcast where I talk to anyone in the shooting industry I care to talk to. We talk about competition, self-defense, trainers, everyone. I'm honored today to have the last, but certainly not least, member of the Anderson shooting team, Gaz. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks. And yourself?
I am wonderful.
Oh,
But
that's awesome. Thanks for
yes,
having me on the show. Appreciate it.
I think I'm honored, and it's nice because we've been talking for a couple months, almost maybe 2 months now, about getting you on. It's just been scheduling conflicts and time change, but I'm glad we're able to make this happen today. So,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but let's get to the nitty gritty. I will give you a quick intro of myself, and then I'll let you introduce yourself. Everyone, this is Gaz or Garrett. He is a IPSC shooter from South Africa. So there are words that we use for certain things that they use for different things. Like I learned, we call a stovepipe, you call a smokestack, or at
Yeah,
least T
pretty
might.
much.
I'm not,
Yeah,
yeah. And then fill-ins. I learned fill-ins, not makeups.
yeah, yeah. It's not a makeup, it's a fill-in.
Yep. But it's just, guys, Gaz is an IPSC shooter, and he knows what he's talking about. He shoots in standard division. But Gaz, I'm going to ask you the first question. Who are you, and how did you get into shooting?
All right. So you've introduced me already. My name's Garrett John Evans from South Africa. Um, Basically, the way I got involved in shooting was basically probably fairly similar to what most people did or how they got involved in shooting. And that was from a self-defense perspective. Just after I left school, my mom was down in Durban with my uncle, who's in a wheelchair due to a shooting. And she had an unpleasant experience while she was there. And I think the very next day, I went to go and start getting the process going for getting my first handgun. But anyway, 2012, I got my first handgun. And then from there, 2013, I started IPSC because I decided that if I was going to carry the handgun, I needed to be more proficient with how I manipulate it and accurate in how I shoot and those sort of things. And then from there, I competed in IPSC for a couple of years, just being proficient and learning self-defense and shooting and how it all works. And then during 2015, I got a couple of opportunities, and that's when I really started to practice and started competing in the game.
Okay. And for people who don't know, in South Africa, the process of getting a firearm is a lot different than over here in the States. You want to share about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So our system's a little bit more strict, and it's quite a long process to get your first gun. The first thing that you got to do is you got to go and get proficiency training from a certified provider. And basically the end result of that is a certificate that says that you're proficient to own whatever gun that you do the standard for. There's multiple different standards, but it's basically handgun, manually operated rifle and shotgun. Um, and then you've got semi-autos, like your semi-auto shotgun, semi-auto rifles. There's a fourth one that I'm missing. I think that one's just the proficient part that you understood the theoretical side of the proficiency test. From there, we take that and we're going to get a competency certificate from our police service. So we apply for that. That takes a few months. They come back and say, okay, you're competent. You can possess a firearm. And then from there, we're going to either have purchased or purchase our first gun, get the paperwork from the gun dealer, supply that to our SAPs, and then we wait for the license for that specific firearm for a few months as well.
So
So it's a fairly long process.
yeah. So if you want to get a firearm, you need to plan ahead of time. So it's not like you can go purchase a new season's gun at the end of at the beginning of the new season.
No, it doesn't work that way. We sort of have to plan a year ahead
Yeah.
for your
Well,
first gun.
yeah. That's
It
good for you
sucks,
because
but it's the way it is.
your gun platform won't change anytime soon. So I mean that's good because they'll always still be around.
Oh, they'll always be around. Yeah, we'll stick to Glock.
Yeah, because it works,
Yeah, that's exactly.
right? But I forgot to mention that Gaz is a one of the three co-hosts to one of my favorite podcasts. Welcome to the Gun Show. No, it's just Welcome to the Gun Show. But him and his two buddies talk about a bunch of different stuff with their awesome South African accents that I love. I mean, I think that's what appeals Jay, Steve, and I to you guys is that your accents are wonderful. But
Yeah. It's more about the accents, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and the funny words.
Yeah.
Well, not the funny words. The different words.
The different words, yes, and different ways of saying things. But no, it's good
Mhm.
fun to be on that show with Tarek and Cornet. So
Yes, and I enjoy them, and they have a very good banter. So you guys go ahead and check out Welcome to the Gun Show. You can find them on Apple. I know that's where I found them, on the Apple Podcast app or wherever they post them up. But it's a good time. I was listening to the Shotguns episode earlier this morning, but I haven't finished it yet.
yeah, that was quite a long one.
Yeah, it was like almost 2 hours, but it was okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm only
Yeah.
about 30 minutes in,
Nice.
but
Yeah. No, it was a good fun episode. But yeah, you can basically find Welcome to the Gun Show on any of your main podcast platforms.
mhm.
So
Yeah, and Cornet likes to talk. He does.
yeah.
But anyway, we'll move on from that. So as I said earlier, you are a member of the Anderson shooting team. How did you meet Steve, or when did Steve come into the play?
So I initially met Steve in 2019. That was when I met Steve. He came to South Africa to do a couple of courses, and I was presented the opportunity to go to one of those courses, and I did the 2-day course.
Mhm.
I don't know if you got the dog noise there, but
We need
I
dog
met him in
noise. Every podcast is better with dog noise.
It's perfect. So I met him in 2019. I did a 2-day course with him, and then we went down to Cape Town to shoot a nationals, and Steve was still here. He presented a couple of courses down there, and my girlfriend Sasha did a dry fire tune-up in Cape Town, which I managed to participate in as well. So we met there, and then we sort of kept comms up after that, because we spoke about that nationals in particular, and from there that sort of just helped get our relationship going. And then the last time I saw him was early last year when he came out to do some classes again.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
did you bring, who hosted Steve to come to South Africa? What pulled him to come besides teaching some courses?
So I think that Shanae van der Merwe was the first one who got him out here, and she got him out here the second time as well. So she drove all of that and got him out here, got the classes booked, and got him organized the site.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think at the time it was a good opportunity for Steve to come through because he sort of came through in the winter. And the good thing is that he really enjoyed coming here the first time, so we got him back the second time.
Mm-hmm. And at what trip did he? Well, I'm sorry. At what trip did you take mental management from Steve, or did you do that online?
No, I took I think, if I'm not mistaken, I took the very first mental management seminar that he hosted ever here in South Africa, and that was early last year.
Mm-hmm.
February, March, somewhere around there, 2020, we had him over here, and he did a whole lot of mental managements, 2-day classes. He did a full trip again.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I did the in-person mental management course. I think I got through 1 3/4 mental management, so I've nearly completed 2 of the same seminar course.
Oh, okay. They're not bad to repeat, though. I mean, I think they're honestly good to have a refresher every once in a while.
Oh yeah, no, I would agree with you. If you can get, I mean, if you could try and get mental management done once a year, that's going to keep everything fresh and keep you moving forward. So
yes, especially as goals change, or when your directive affirmations kind of need to change. I really think it's good to run through those with Steve. Honestly, that's my opinion, but that's cool. Have you taken, besides your Steve Anderson experience and getting, before you got your license to possess firearms, have you taken any other formal trainings?
yeah, I've done a couple of other courses. I think it was 2017. I did a course with Chris Tilley. He came out to South Africa for a couple of weeks. And then later in 2019, I did a couple of courses with Kita Bassi as well. The 2 courses, we did her sort of normal movement economy of motion class, and then we did sort of an advanced class on another day with her.
Awesome.
And then I've done a couple of different training sessions and those kinds of coaching instructional sessions with Tarek as well. We've done some defensive stuff and general mentoring.
Yes, that is good. And he teaches classes quite regularly, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does some classes fairly regularly. Yeah.
And so you had Chris Tilley and Keita out. What were some big takeaways from those classes, if you can remember them?
So the stuff that I got from Chris was more about how I was applying myself to training at the time. There was very little that I personally got technique-wise from him, although he's got a couple of really, really good ideas with how to apply yourself to the gun, or how you can apply the gun to you, whichever way you're looking at it. But I got a good couple of drills from Chris, and basically just new, refreshing ideas on how I could be practicing. And then from the training with Keita, just got a whole lot of information on movement and how we can apply ourselves to movement, and basically a full refresher sort of ideology on how we can think about how we move.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more than just moving. We need to look at why we're moving that way and how we can make ourselves move better than the way we're currently doing it.
And probably how you stage plan a little bit differently now because of how you have to look at how you're looking at movement.
Yes. Yeah, that had an important role. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's another big difference between IPSC and USPSA kind of style shooting. IPSC is a lot more movement, short. They've got the 3-2-1 format, shorter, and some of the rules are different, so it needs to be accommodated for, like, you can't leave the shooting area and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple differences that we see there, and I think that having the 3-2-1 ratio, which is three short courses, 2 medium courses, and 1 long course per 6 stages, definitely accounts for some fairly technical and small shooting areas. So there's lots of odd movements that sort of are designed to make you uncomfortable, which is quite cool. And I think that what the guys are doing now that's really interesting is they're getting some fairly technical but very interesting 12-round, 14-round stages. That's highish in the low round count to medium, getting some really interesting and fun stages from it.
Mm-hmm. And I think, honestly, when you get those technical stages, it makes it a little more interesting instead of a hose fest or things like that, where you want to make it challenging for the shooting, but not take 32 to X amount of rounds you need for the course of fire.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I did mention that you are a standard, correct?
Standard division, yes, yeah.
Standard. And standard is like limited, but does have some different differences. Ugh, if I could talk today, it'd be wonderful. I need more coffee. But anyway, what are some of the major differences between standard and limited divisions?
So from what I understand, in standard division, we've got to have our gun fit a certain sized box, which, if I'm not mistaken, is like 225 millimeters by 150 by, I can't remember the height of the box. But the biggest factor is fitting the gun in the box. So typically we can't have super big guns. Now, I think with limited, your magazines have to fit a gauge, but your gun doesn't have to fit a box.
That's correct.
So typically limited gets more ammo because you're allowed 140 millimeter long mags, whereas in standard division, you won't fit the box with just about any gun with 140 millimeter mag. So we're typically running like 126 mil long mags. So like my Glock 35 and the 22 Gen 5, they take 17 plus 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the limited guys are running, but I know it's more.
Yeah, they can get a +5. Well, if you're talking in 9mm, yeah, it's 9mm like be a 23, so maybe like 20 rounds or so in a 40 cal mag.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but
yeah, that's quite a difference. And
now,
then obviously, I think with limited, you're also allowed to. Well, now with the new rule changes, obviously you can have all of your equipment in front of your hip bones, where standard division we can't.
yeah, you still be behind
Has to be-
the hip bone.
Yeah.
And you actually did. I liked this video. It's an older video. I think it's about a year old now, but it's how you're talking about how your equipment can be best set up for you and to be efficient. But if your equipment is not in the ideal spot, it could be a detriment to your training and your performance. I liked that video. It's on. So anyone go check out Garrett's YouTube channel as well. He's got some videos up. I enjoy them.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Thank you.
It's for the accent. No, just kidding.
I wouldn't blame you.
Right. But typically in standard division, you're seeing a lot of what CZs, Glocks? What's typical in your area of South Africa, at least?
So the biggest brand that we're seeing in standard division is STI in standard division. There's a couple of balls floating around. Very few Glocks. I think at this last nationals there were 2 Glocks in the top 3. So myself sitting second with a Glock, and then Grand Chancellor Madison, if I could talk today, it would be cool as well. Grant was sitting in at third. So we had 2 Glocks in the top 3, but definitely the most dominant pistol is the STIs.
Okay. Yeah, it's similar. A lot of the single action only guns over here are very popular in limited. But okay. So a lot of people shoot single action only guns, which is typical. I mean, everyone wants the optimal platform for the division, so I don't blame them. But I don't find appeal. I mean, I'm not sure I'd love an open gun, but I don't find the appeal in the cost of also owning a very raced out gun.
Yeah, they're a bit tricky. I shot 2011 for a while, and they're really, really nice. I've got a soft spot for them. I like them for what they offer, the engineering, the manufacturing, the nitty-gritties of them, if you could call it that. But obviously that drives up your costs in terms of maintenance. It needs more regular maintenance and those kinds of things. But on the flip side, I prefer the Glock for it being lighter, simpler, and it works.
Yes, and it's kind of just like, for me, it's like keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Tongue twisters today. But
yeah.
So you said you were shooting the 35. Now you went to a Gen 5 22. What made you decide to switch from the longer barrel 35 to the 22?
Well, the 22 Gen 5s arrived at Bernard Agencies a little while ago, and Tarek shot them. And he said, okay, I need to go and test fire them. So I shot a 22 Gen 5 and a 23 Gen 5. And what was really surprising was that the 22 Gen 5 functioned better in terms of shooting, and that straight out the box without any of the personalization that I had on my 35s. So they outperformed what I was doing with the 35s in terms of how I was shooting them. And then from there, I sort of said, okay, I want to move over to 22 Gen 5. There's no 35 Gen 5. So I moved over to that, personalized it, and I'm really enjoying running the 22 Gen 5. I think they've done a sterling job with what they've done in terms of making them better shooters with the recoil system. And that nice, big, heavy, fat slide makes quite a big difference into that recoil impulse, number one, and number two, how nicely the gun returns from that recoil.
And do you find that only having the one locking block pin / trigger pin to be going to be an issue with high round count guns like yourself?
No, I don't think so. I think with the way Glock test their stuff through R&D, and that it obviously works, and it's got a good long life in terms of durability. So I think they've probably done the correct thing there.
Excellent. Because I think I've talked to a couple people, and we haven't seen a Gen 5 40 cal in person yet. So, but if you say it's going to hold up, I believe you, because Glock they don't use their customer base as a beta testers not like some brands that do that with some of their products. But I like the Gen 5. I currently run a Gen 5 17 that I've had milled to have a Trijicon SRO put on top of it for this year's gun. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's a very different than the RMR that I used to have on the other gun I have. It's like cheating because the window is so big. But
yeah,
Jay told me go get an SRO, so I'm like, okay, I'll go get an SRO.
And you're running the 5 MOA?
Yes, running a 5 MOA because my eyes pick up the 5 better. I have an astigmatism, so I was running a 3.25 on my RMR because it was a good middle-sized dot. But the 5 is so much more crisp, even with my regular glasses, even though when I shoot with Hunter's HD Golds because they change so I don't have to. And it just makes the dot perfect. Like, it just makes the dot look perfectly round. Unlike in my regular glasses, it's still kind of squiggly, and without my glasses, it's just like a big, even on a medium setting, without my glasses, it's like, it's huge, and but the 5 is nice, especially since it doesn't have a perceived bigger wobble.
Yes. Yeah, I found with Sasha, my girlfriend, she shoots production optics, and I found that her having bigger dots is, I like the bigger dot better.
Mm-hmm. I like bigger dots to a point. I think at some point there's a diminishing return to how big the dot can be, but I haven't dabbled into that too much. It might be different, like for someone shooting an open gun, that the dot doesn't move at all really, and when tracking and recoil, the dot on the slide is a little bit different, I find.
Yeah.
But experience and exposure to different platforms makes it different. Like I just had a friend pick up a CZ. Is that how we say those? CZ?
Yeah, CZ. That's how we say
CZ.
it. Yeah.
He picked up
Yeah.
a Shadow 2 optics ready gun, and he just put a Holosun on it. So
Okay.
because he hasn't coughed up the money to get his SRO yet, but I hear those metal guns beat up optics a little bit more. So I'll let him test that out for me.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know why they beat them up a little bit more to kill them, but it's just one of those things that I've seen is like people say, like Shadow 2s will eat optics, but
That's interesting. I haven't heard that before. It's possible. And I mean, the Holosuns have actually done quite a good job of proving themselves to be durable optics.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think you could drop a Holosun still like on concrete and you might be okay. But if I drop my SRO on concrete, I'll be crying because that was very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend who dropped an SRO on concrete and he needed a new one.
Yeah. Hopefully Trijicon covered him. Hopefully.
I didn't actually ever find out if they did, but I'm sure they did.
I'd hope so. The nice thing is Trijicon's only like an hour and a half from me if I had to drive there.
Oh, cool.
Yes, which is quite nice.
It's quite good.
Yeah, but I don't think they'd open the door for me. But I'm like, but that's the cool thing is like sometimes it's cool to know where some of these companies are. Like I'm very lucky. Trijicon's in my state of Michigan and whatnot. But so we talk about that. Cool. Quick fact: what's your carry gun?
Right now my carry gun's a Glock 19X.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So at least you're not shooting 40 cal in your defensive gun then. Okay.
I must admit that the 23 Gen 5 is tempting.
Oh, okay. Ooh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the long grip. The long grip is nice.
It does help with the shooting. Yeah. It makes carrying a little bit more tricky because it's kind of like carrying a Glock 17, but when I carry it in the Vanguard, then it's like carrying a Glock 19. So a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Exactly. And I honestly, my hands, I don't know. It's something about my hands. They couldn't fit a regular 19 at all. So I had to switch to 17s. I had a 19 at one point. I had to sell it off because it didn't fit. Like, everyone says you need a Glock 19. No, everyone needs a Glock 17 because then they can figure it out. They can figure it out with the long. Well, now they can get a 45 or a 19X, but
yeah,
I'm not a big fan of the regular 19s. But that's just because I can't shoot them well because I don't get enough lower finger support. You are a South African national champion, are you not?
Yeah, that's right.
And was that like in 2019, 2020?
Yeah, so I was the 2019 national champion for standard division, and then 2020, because of COVID and the lack of nationals, there wasn't a championship trophy.
Okay.
Our championships sort of work a little bit differently to yours because we've got more nationals. So our championships trophy or our champions trophy is calculated over your aggregate percentages over the 3 nationals of the year. So it's slightly different in that regard, where with USPSA, with the way you guys structure it, I think you have 1 nationals per division per year. And whoever wins that nationals would be deemed the national champion.
Okay. So you can, so it's based off your percentage over the year, which is quite nice. Because then you never know, you could have an off match and throw your nationals away. But with that 3 match system, you have a better chance of performing at peak performance and still being able to come out on top if you are at least consistent enough.
Yes. Yeah, consistency is a nice part of the game.
And so you shoot 3 matches. Are those spread out evenly throughout the year, or are those more back to back to back kind of things?
They sort of spread out every third of the year. So we've just come back from our first nationals of 2021. Our next one, I think, is in June, and then the last one will probably be in October.
Mm-hmm. So now, you said you were the 2019 Standard National Champion, and you took Steve Anderson's mental management in early 2020. Would there have been things you would have liked to have known in 2019 that you learned in 2020?
Yeah, I think there would be a few things that would have been nice to know in 2019, but what was really nice is that I got the opportunity to learn through 2019. And what I spoke to about Steve and with my whole support system throughout that year, just after I met Steve in 2019, the very next nationals, which was in June 2019, with my support system and having spoken to Steve and come up with a couple of different changes to my mental system, I was able to win my first nationals. So I won my first nationals in 2019, and then I did the official Lely Basher mental management system that Steve got accredited for early 2020.
That's excellent. And I find as myself, even being a newer shooter to practical pistol in USPSA, is that the mental side of the game is so much larger than people want to admit to it. Because even now, I'm so, like I said, I'm so new to the sport, but I'm very much in tune with what needs to happen in the mental side of things to perform better. It's quite fascinating to not worry about results in the moment and let the process guide the shooting and do what you need to do to be to get the job done for what we need.
Yeah, and when you're focused on the process during the match and you're not worried about the results and it actually allows you to be more interested and enjoy the sport a little bit more, to relieve some of that pressure that you put on yourself. That whole mental system. And what's great about it is that the earlier you get into the mental system or the mental game in itself, the easier it is, I think, for someone to progress their skills to a point where they're starting to compete better. If you know what I mean. Maybe not compete better, but they improve the probability of gaining their skills quicker and sooner if they're applying the mental game correctly.
Right, and the mental game allows more of your subconscious to take over and perform optimally. I'd like to say, you might not be percentagely better, but you at least perform systematically better. I want to say, like, as soon as you stop worrying about, I need to do this, this, and this, it seems like that your shooting becomes more natural and you can put your mind to other tasks. But from what we know of mental management or in match mode, that the brain, the conscious mind can only function on one thing at a time.
Yeah, that's true.
And I found my focus phrase, which works for me. And it's, I will see what I need to see. Since center the dot, call the shot makes me to over aim, or be more focused on center, not necessarily the center of the available target, but it kind of made me want to be center of the window on the dot. So I will use his irons phrase, and I will see what I need to see.
That works perfect. And that makes sense. Sorry, go for it.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it makes perfect sense. So mine is see the sights, call the shot. But I've gone through a variety of different focus phrases to find that one that works for me. But what you say makes perfect sense, because the way your brain is picking it up, or the way that you perceive it, is when you say center the dot, you centering it on everything, and not just the scoring zone. That's interesting.
Yes, and I think from talking with Steve, there's like 4 or 5 other people who have found that. I know another high-level open shooter in the States who I was lucky enough to take mental management with also found that to be the same case. And
okay,
man, like it's just, but it's, it's how we perceive things, words, and thoughts, and how all of our brains are different and we process differently. But and that's why I think everyone should spend $250 with Steve Anderson to go take mental management. At least get you on the right track. And I'm glad I spent that money earlier on in my shooting career than waiting to struggle so much through shooting, to have a bunch of mental blocks. And like, I started my shooting competitively late September of 2020. I was planning on starting in May of 2020, but the pandemic and then ammo shortages and time, because my work schedule is not very accommodating for shooting matches. Luckily,
Okay.
my boss is very accommodating.
Oh, good. Oh,
But
good.
so I do what I can do. But through 2020, I was very much results focused. And then I took early 2021, I took mental management with Steve, and I'm like, after that last match in 2020, I'd started implementing the process of being more focused on the process than results. And I've actually come to the conclusion that I probably, if I go to a local match with friends that I like to shoot with or like to hang out with, I might not squad with them due to the fact that they aren't the type of competitor I want to be around on match day.
Okay.
They are very more hobbyists to the sport, which is nothing wrong with that. But for me to perform, I want to follow my process and match mode. Because I mess up all three parts of match mode. I'll just call it match mode. So follow the match mode, analyze, strategize, memorize, visualize. Ooh, I got it right for once.
There we
Hallelujah.
go.
But
Damn. Got it.
so I want to do my thing and get my visualizations and not worry about them thinking I don't really care what they think that I'm doing, but it's like I want to be able to perform at my best and follow the process and the steps I need without being like talked to when I'm trying to visual. I mean, yes, I want to be there and have a good time, but I'm like trying to visualize here, guys, gotta leave me alone. But you don't want to be like off in the back of the bay, like, oh, I'm not talking, all by yourself, because you're still there to have a good time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It doesn't matter what level you're competing at. There's a certain social level when you're not shooting or preparing to shoot a stage. So that definitely keeps things fun. And when it comes to match day, it's important that you get the opportunity to do what you need to do at the match. And if that means you need a squad in a separate squad when you go to a match, then that's what you got to do. You can always socialize with your buddies in that after the match or before the match, So that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's not like I don't like my friends when I go to a match, but it's one of the things that's just like I've come here to do a thing, especially if I've driven more than 20, like if I've driven over an hour and I've, set the day aside or in the time to go to the match, I'm like, I need to perform optimally and
Yeah.
not be just like I've got a match coming in 20 days. By the time this will air by the time that right before that match comes, but it's a bunch of short courses, but I'm not going to say what they are because it's a class fire match. I want to see where my skills are at the beginning of the season, but I'm treating them as short courses within the whole mental process of they're just short courses. You analyze, you memorize, you visualize, you strategize. See, messed it up. Follow my process to go through those stages and not worry about the results. Just shoot see what I need to see and shoot the stages.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, classifiers are just short stages. And I think that's where a lot of guys sort of battle for some time if they don't manage to come through it, is basically trying to treat classifiers differently than what they would a normal short stage.
I kind of wish I wish you would. It'd be nice if the classifier stages weren't known to be. You just didn't call them a classifier. You just called them another stage. You called it something else, but it counted for. It was all set up to spec and everything. And then people would probably treat them more like a short course than this thing that they get so nerved up to go 0 or hero on it. And now I can't remember, but does IPSC have a classifier or a classification system?
They've got a classification system, but it's not based on any sort of specific stages like USPSA has. So for us, our classification is normally determined based on match performance. So if you within a certain percentage range, you D class, certain percentage range C, and so forth until you get to A class. We don't have M and GM, so the highest we get in IPSC is A class.
Okay.
And well, at least at a national level, I'm not sure at an international level on the IPSC rankings. I'd actually have to go check.
Now, are you preparing for Worlds this year?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we're preparing for the IPSC World Shoot in Thailand at the end of November. At this point, we're preparing as though it's going to happen, but we're waiting to see what IPSC have to say. I think they're going to announce something in June.
Yeah, because I think they posted something I read in like a USPSA newsletter last week, but saying they're still making the decision on World Shoot. I hope it happens, but I'm also okay at this point if they cancel Worlds and then keep the schedule as supposed to be instead of keep bumping everything back, because it could really mess up the cycle of rifle, shotgun, pistol. Is that those are the three Worlds we have, correct? Or is there a fourth one?
I think there's a PCC also coming up.
Oh, okay.
PCC Worlds. I think that's actually in Florida, and then I think there may be, but I may be speaking under correction, a mini rifle World Shoot as well. So rimfire World Shoot.
Oh, okay. That's kind of interesting. I never thought it. I didn't think they had a rimfire rifle division. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
So you're planning on going to Thailand. It's interesting. Is there any concerns you have about traveling to Thailand, like getting ammunition and guns internationally?
No, there's nothing sort of worrying me at the moment. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is if they release, whenever they release the confirmation or not of the World Shoot in June from IPSC themselves, we here in South Africa might find ourselves in a little bit of a sticky situation because we have to apply for export permits, and that can take a little while. So we're hoping those will come back before we have to go to the World Shoot. Other than that, I'm not too worried about getting the guns internationally. And as far as I understand it, we can't export any ammunition into Thailand. So we would pretty much everyone there would have to buy official match ammo.
And hopefully there's enough match ammo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, hopefully there's enough.
Now, in your Glock 22, are they stock springs or did you modify, or better question, have you, besides personalization of the gun, have you modified anything in the, like, I know you put an Apex, right?
No, I'm running the stock trigger shoe at the moment in that.
Okay.
So it's pretty much OEM. I've changed the striker spring to an Eamon Tech competition. And then I've got a Eamon Tech firing pin safety spring, and then most of the other modifications are on the outside. I think I've also put a minus connector in.
Oh, okay. So it should hopefully still run factory ammunition or match provided ammo. It's not super raced out.
Yeah, no, it should run just about any ammo. The only problem is that I've had issues with that specific spring in the past, in the Gen 4s, was our local manufacturer from P&P. They're pretty hard, but it's set off anything else. So,
well, that's good then. At least that won't be a concern, because I know a lot of people will race spring out their Glock, and the thing will only light the softest primers, which I think might be even Federals. Yeah. But I prefer Federals because that's what I could get my hands on at the moment. But well, before the ammo crisis, now I can't find primers. So
yeah.
But no, I agree. All my stocks, my gun is all OEM. It's all OEM. It's an OEM Glock, which I don't mind. It's nice knowing that it'll set off whatever I throw in the dang thing. Yeah. So if you find bottom feeder brass ammo or steel case ammo, I'll be okay. Hopefully.
Yeah, you'll be fine with anything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I know you run CR Speed because they are the finest.
They are the finest, yes.
They are the finest. How do you like your race holster?
So the race holster is something that I've really come to enjoy. I spent quite a bit of time setting them up, even though when you get one for the Glocks, it's normally a plug and play thing. It's normally fairly well set up already because they have to make a specific holster for the width of the Glock trigger guard. But I've never had any issues with my CR Speed holsters.
That's the one thing
I've had one where it broke, but I took it up to them and we got it all sorted out. They really are robust and they do what they're supposed to do when you want to do it, not when the holster decides.
Yeah, it's quite nice because CR Speed is based out of South Africa. It's quite nice.
Yeah, they're about a 40 minutes drive from me.
See, that's not bad at all. Because you can actually go get mag pouches right from them. Do they have a retail center right there with CR Speed or?
Yeah, so the retail center is called Rescomp Handgun Technologies. Yeah, RHT. That's right. And they basically they're one and the same thing, CR Speed and Rescomp. So They do quite a big variety of things as well.
Mm-hmm. Now now that USPSA changed the rules, I was able to install a magnet onto my pouch. I got a CR Speed pouch. Well, a CR Speed magnet because I already had CR Speed pouches because they are the finest pouches that you can get your hands on. I noticed that the magnet can go either up the pouch or down the pouch in the front.
Yeah.
Like either the magnet will be covering the bottom part of the pouch or it'll be hanging off into space underneath the pouch. What do you prefer?
So I actually, during the middle of last year, I spoke to Jay about it a lot because I was sort of pulling my hair out with a magnet.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried a variety of different ways to get the magnet mounted, and I've basically reverted back to having the magnet in front of the mag pouch.
So up the up position.
Yes, yeah. Basically, unfortunately, it's going to cover that finger groove that you have for that index of the reload.
Mm-hmm.
But Jay and I spoke about it a few weeks ago, and we sort of spoke about it with Mark as well. I wonder how many times I've said as well, but anyway, I spoke to Jay and Mark about it a few weeks ago, and with magnets being so fresh in terms of you guys using it and getting used to them, it might not be a bad idea to have the magnet hanging down off the bottom, almost in free space, because then you keep the versatility that the CR Speed mag pouch offers you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for me, I've had it there for years, and then I would basically have to go through the retraining process of where that magnet is.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't
And
a big deal, but then I've got to spend a lot of time and repetitions to learn where that new magnet is, and I'm not sure that outweighs working on other things.
right, yeah, that's half the battle of like with these rule changes, moving things. You've got to build a subconscious skill and get so many more reps in to ingrain it. Luckily enough, I
Yeah.
only smashed my finger for one training session, going for that because you just go down, and I was go down to the old spot, and I was just smacking the top of the mag extension, just like repeat. I'm like, this doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But Gaz, what are some current goals you have for either 2021 and a little bit forward, if you want to think past this year?
Okay, so if we look at this year as a whole, one of my goals is to win my first level 4. So our second nationals is going to be a level 4 competition called the Africa Area Champs, and I'd like to win that as my first level 4. Moving on from that, my other goal that I sort of set was outcome based as well, to win the World Shoot. But moving forward from that, basically my goal would be to win a World Shoot as a whole. So those would basically be my outcome based goals. Other than that, it's normal performance enhanced, excellent sort of training,
Gotcha.
those personal gains sort of goals.
And a level 4 match is so like a level 3 would be like a country, but level 4 is international.
Yeah, I think they normally considered a fairly international match, and then obviously level 5 is World Shoot.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
I didn't know there was
Yeah.
I didn't know there was 5 levels of IPSC.
Yeah.
I think there's only 4 in USPSA, and World Shoot is level 4 because level 3 is like nationals for us.
Okay. Yeah, our
I think
nationals are pretty much level 3s as well. So
okay.
yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if your club level matches are maybe not considered level 1s. Maybe they're not. Our club level matches are considered level 1s. Maybe that's why you've only got 4 levels.
Well, we yes, no, club matches would be level 1s here. Level 2s are like state level matches and state level matches, and our area matches and our nationals are both level 3s. So
Okay.
so we combined, the region of, whatever these couple states is an area, and we'll call that a level 3, as well as nationals will be a level 3. And then
Okay.
level 4 for us is worlds. But
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's still an IPSC match anyway, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping within the next couple of years to be able to get enough free time to go shoot an IPSC match. If I was able either travel and shoot IPSC or see if it comes to, or shoot an IPSC mat in the States. I mean, sometimes we have some actual IPSC matches over here sometimes, because I know we have the Pan American sometimes, and
Yeah. But you've also don't you normally have an IPSC nationals every year?
yes,
Yeah.
but nowhere near
so
me.
that's also yeah. Yeah, I think the other thing, if I were to add another goal, would be to start trying to do a little bit more in terms of international matches and trying to get into Europe. And one of the other bigger goals, and these are financially driven, is trying to get into the US to shoot a US nationals. That would be part of the goal system.
Yeah, I know it's rumored that Eric Graffel may be able to get over here for this year because
Oh, cool.
it's known in the past World Shoots that he has come to the U.S. to prepare for the World Shoot, but we'll see due to COVID restrictions and whatnot if that's going to be the case like normal. But I know
Oh,
you
cool.
just released competitive training with Gaz.
Yes.
Okay,
Nice long
so
title.
yeah, but what made you want to start coaching people in competitive shooting or shooting in general?
So I wanted to get involved more in the sense of coaching people in the competitive shooting world. We've got a lot of people who are putting out good content in terms of instruction and classes and those sort of things. There's some guys doing the online coaching and that sort of stuff already. But I just wanted to bring it into South Africa and try the online coaching side of things, where I can help people through a series of their own problems that are unique to them, so that we can find solutions from that and try and get them to progress a little bit more and have a better understanding on how they could apply themselves to their practice.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my way of giving a little bit back to the sport and trying to bring something different to the table that I could try and help people through or improve.
And so you want to lay out some of the, I know it won't matter to most of my US viewers, but you never know. Someone might be, I want to online coach with Gaz. So you want to lay out what you offer a little bit, if that's acceptable or not?
Yeah, I can lay out what I've got on hand in my brain. So the way that it would work is it's essentially a short series of coaching sessions, if we could call it that. So you'd reach out to me. I'll send you the documents of what it is, what I need from you, what you're going to get, what it costs, etc. We finalize that. You're going to send some of your videos over to me so that I can analyze them from matches and have a look at what I'm seeing. And then you're going to let me know what you feel like is the most important things that you need to work on, or maybe it's things that you're currently struggling with or battling to get a breakthrough on. And that could be anything. It could be technical, physical, mental, emotional, whatever the case might be, that we can try and find solutions to get you through that barrier or maybe to the next level, whichever side of the coin you're sitting on. From there, we're going to basically have an online session where we're going to discuss these things, and then we're going to have two more after that. And they're sort of going to be spaced out in a week, so that whatever we discuss, for example, on Monday, you're going to apply those things that we discussed on Monday in your training until our next video call, which would probably be like the following Monday or so. We find out what sort of progress you had, and then we take it further another week, and then we have our final video consult. So you basically get three video consults, and then from there we can go into a comprehensive one where, if you can and you're willing to and you're sort of in my area, we can get out to do some live fire stuff as well as part of that package.
That's pretty cool. And I honestly think that's kind of the way of the future of training, is going to be the personalized online / in-person demo, one-on-one instruction. I think that'll be fine that a lot of people don't get a lot out of a 12 to 16 person class with one instructor as much as you would with truly one-on-one time. But most people need to understand that people who are taking the time out of their day to train you or being your instructor need to be compensated correctly. And some people don't like the sheer cost of what things will cost.
Yeah. Yeah, some
But
people don't. And I mean, what I've had in the past from actual physical, like if I go for a 1 or 2 day course with an instructor, there's a lot of valuable information in those courses. But I think what a lot of people tend to do is they stop listening, or they don't listen correctly. So they're not looking at everything. And there's a lot of things that are presented in those courses that if you made notes of it, whether it's on your phone or something like that, it might pop up in a week or 2 weeks time. And you're like, oh yeah, there was this can help me. There's a lot of valuable information in that. And I think a lot of people just don't take note of all of that valuable information.
mm-hmm. I would agree. I've taken a few classes, and I barely have seen people write notes. I have seen a lot of people who will video like a lecture, like a a round circle kind of. The instructor is talking, like they'll demo something, we'll all go through it, and then we hash it all out. I see a lot of people videoing it, but I think they're not necessarily getting as much out of that video as they can because they're more worried about videoing than listening. I mean, the advantage of taking the video is that you can listen to it later and take notes on it, but I will take my notebook right on the firing line for a class and write as many notes as I can in the moment and whatnot. I'm one of those people who takes a class. I don't feel stupid answering a million questions, or asking a million questions, because I'm here and I'm there to learn. So I'm going to get everything I can out of.
Yeah.
My favorite junior shooter, though, Tim Herron. I'm taking his class for a second time this year, so that'll be exciting.
Awesome.
But
yeah.
Tim's a great guy, but I took so many notes the first time, and I think I'll probably fill another notebook with all the notes I'll take the second time.
Yes.
And honestly, it's just I love taking training classes, but there's never enough money and time to take a million training classes either. So, as with the coaching, have you gotten anyone in so far to sign up for that?
I've had a couple of inquiries, but I think I released the coaching idea a little bit too close to nationals. So a lot of the guys sort of came back and said, okay, we'll revisit it after our nationals. So I haven't got anyone formally yet, but we've got quite a few inquiries in that. So it can only pick up now that nationals are done.
Yeah, and it would be very hard to implement a training program like that, right? Like the week before nationals, like, what, you're telling me to change everything I know before I shoot this major match.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that will blow up here soon, hopefully for you, I hope. But you, besides training with Gaz, you run a couple, if not one company, you run DVC or DVC?
Yeah, DVC Technologies, yeah.
And you make a bunch of cool different products from what you all say. I've dabbled on your website, but it's not very friendly for us US.
It's a very basic website that I put together, so it's there, it exists, but it's not really there. It's not all there. We make a couple of customized and different things, which started out from shooting. So now we're making lubricants for guns, we're making cleaners for guns, we're making inertia squib removers, we're making a fairly big variety of things, acrylic dry fire systems. So we're getting away from the old MDF/plywood dry fire systems, where we can implement some no shoots and hardcover, and we can set up no shoots with steel targets, those kinds of things. And then one of the bigger things that we got out was the Glock Cubes, which is the same. Well, there's the Glock Cubes and there's ones for the P10 series called the Potency Cubes, which are dry fire aids for your striker fired pistols, where when the gun's cocked, if you pull the trigger, you essentially have a dead trigger. It doesn't manipulate after that. So you take the little cube and then you're going to slide it in between the hood of the barrel and the breech face of the slide, close it up, and then you've got realistically travel in your trigger for what you can experience between dry fire and live fire. You just don't have a resetting trigger. That's a lot more complicated than the cube.
Now, you said it's the correct amount or proportional amount of movement on the trigger with the cube, correct? But not necessarily the actual full feel of a trigger.
Yeah. So you don't have that sort of that wall and break, if you could call it that. But you're still going to be manipulating and moving your trigger finger the way you would between live and dry fire. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Yeah. I think us US guys, I think we can still get some at AndersonShooting.com if Steve still has some. You can pick them up.
I'm sure.
You don't want to pay customs and shipping for that, guys.
No.
I mean, they can pay you for it, but
they can, yeah. A little bit of a dent in the wallet, but they can pay.
A little bit, especially if you're only ordering cubes. But I saw those inertia squib rods. Those are pretty cool, though. Do you sell a lot of those over there?
Yeah, they've started picking up now. So our initial batch of, I think we made 30 or 50 of them are gone. So we need to start making some more.
And are you a one-man operation, or are you a multiple-person operation?
So I'm the only person working strictly for DVC Technologies, but my dad and I sort of work hand in hand. We work from the same premises. He's got his own business, and then when I need his help, I contract him, and when he needs my help, he contracts me. So we sort of flip it that way.
Oh, okay. So at least that's fair
And
enough then.
yeah, and his primary business is the service and repair on CNC machine tools. So I get involved in that as well.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good. Then he can you help him out, he helps you out, and
Yeah,
you get to work, and that's pretty cool. And you're not that old, Gaz. You're only what, less than 30?
29. Yeah,
Same?
29.
Yeah,
Less than 30.
so yeah, that's what I was guess. Not like Mark Sue, who's ancient, even though he doesn't look old.
Yeah, I've got more gray hair there.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's that
Yeah.
you're so close to the sun.
Yeah, let's call it that.
Yeah.
I'll stick to that one.
It's sun
Yeah.
bleaching. It's not gray hair. It's just really, really white from the sun.
Yeah, it's the hot African sun.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of the African sun, how are the seasons there? I've never been. Well, the only place I've been internationally, I went across the Atlantic to England for a trip for a couple weeks, but that was about it.
Okay. The climate in South Africa is actually really, really good all year round. You know, if we compare it to other places where it gets really cold and snowing and those sort of things. Right now, we're sitting in autumn and we're probably going to be heading into winter during the course of April, where we might need a sweater or jersey, but we don't get any snow. Our rainfall is in summer, so we've got some humidity and typically fairly high temperatures. I don't know what they'd be in Fahrenheit, so I can't really give you the temperature ranges, but if you sort of know Celsius and you want to convert it in winter, we might get out to, if it's a really, really cold day in a cold front, we might get down to like 10 or 12 degrees Celsius. But on average in winter, we're going to get out to 17, 18, 20 degrees, somewhere around there, winter Celsius. Summer, we can get anything between 28 and 36 degrees Celsius.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, that can get fairly uncomfortable. I think I can't remember. I'd rather not convert it to Fahrenheit because I think I'd be wrong.
It's almost like a double, depending on where it goes. It's almost like a double ratio. So if I think about it like that, because at my place of employment, we work in Fahrenheit and Celsius, depending on which machine we're operating. So we have to kind of do the quick math. Like, it's close enough. Like,
okay.
There's only a couple of machines that are in Celsius, so unfortunately, well, depends on who's running those machines, but yeah. So you really don't get an off season then. You can really keep shooting all year round then.
Yeah, we can keep shooting all year round, but the matches sort of start to die down near the end of November, and there's typically very little to no matches throughout December. That's sort of like the off season, and I think that's just because of Christmas and the festive season. That's typically when the majority of our companies would close down for that period of time and those kinds of things. So that's sort of our off season. It's the holiday season.
Holiday season, there you go. But yeah, like for Jay and I, we get even Mark, I think he gets shut down because of snow and whatnot. And it's just honestly, it's too cold to go shooting. And matches stop, but I've got friends who live down in Texas or Arizona who they don't stop shooting. They shoot all year round. So they're
yeah, whenever I speak to Mark and Jay in the winter, I'm like, have you been shooting? They're like, nope, it's too cold.
Exactly. I mean, Jay's basement I'm jealous of Jay's basement.
Oh yeah. Now
in South Africa, do you have basements?
No, we don't typically have basements here. We'll have some attics. Or a lot of houses, or some houses will have attics in them.
So typically like one-story houses in South Africa?
I live in a double-story house. There's a fair amount of double-story, but yeah, there's a lot of single-story houses, but basements aren't a common thing here.
Makes sense. I mean, we only really get it up here in certain places because of the ground is stable enough to do it, and we don't have to worry about earthquakes as much. But they're definitely needed in these colder climates to hold all of our crap because we hoard things.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that the equipment for winter can pile up fairly quickly.
Yeah. Well, that's why we have our garages. They hold all of our snow beast machines and get rid of the snow. Although I've lazy, I only had to pull that thing out once this year, so I usually was just using a snow shovel.
Okay.
This was an odd winter though. It really didn't get bad except for maybe like 2 weeks here. So other than that, it was
Okay.
pretty mild, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice change of pace.
Yes, definitely. Lately I've been seeing some stuff putting trigger press and trigger control versus grip. I would kind of like your take on like what you think is more of a priority for a general application. I've got my own opinions, but like people like the trifecta, is always grip pressure, sights, and trigger press. Like the big three that kind of like float around as the top fundamental, I want to say. But I'd like to get your opinion on kind of which you would kind of put as a more importance on.
So I think if we're looking at sights, trigger press, and grip, all three of those are basically your building blocks to shooting. And I don't think making any one of them more important than the other is going to solve anything if you can't apply all three of them individually well.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we want to have a solid grip because that helps us manage recoil, and it's on the flip side, it's going to help us return the gun back to the target a little bit sooner.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing to consider is that a solid grip's going to be more forgiving to us pushing the gun around with our trigger finger, which we obviously don't want to do. But then when it comes to group shooting, what we want to do is we want to teach ourselves how to manipulate our trigger finger without moving the gun around excessively or at all, depending on your current skill level. Mm-hmm. And obviously, sights are something that's quite hotly debated. But if you're not using the sights one way or another, you're going to battle with your accuracy. So if we take all three of those, we start doing all three of them really well, we've got a solid platform to work off of.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. They're much more of a trifecta. They all kind of need to be parallel. But lately, like I've seen most people say that trigger control is much more important than grip when shooting in general, like as a general context. And there was a lot of hot debate. I've kind of leaned. I put grip a little. If we could say, there's a percentages. Typically if they're all even, they'd be 33.3%. I put grip at like 40%. And put like sights and trigger a little bit lower just because without a solid grip, the other two really don't matter. If you could have a perfect trigger, you could have a perfect sight alignment, but if your grip is not where it needs to be, you could have a not as accurate shot if your grip wasn't correct.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah,
like I said,
sense.
Minutely, I put grip a little bit high above the other two, but they're very much of a trifecta pillar formate, very supposed to be equal.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that because all three of them need to be done well. But if you're applying a very, very good grip, it can help you with the other areas, the sights or the trigger. I like that idea.
Mm-hmm. And I know, like I talk sometimes, and it's like you with a really good grip, you can mask a very crappy trigger press. Like I mean, if you're locked on that gun, your grip is solid. You could torch one, you could just slap the trigger like it owes you money, and you could still have a good, accurate shot. But they definitely need to be. It's more of a trifecta.
Yeah, and I mean, sorry, just to clear that up. But if you smash in the grip, if you're really crushing down on the grip, and you masking a really bad trigger control or trigger manipulation, you might just be band-aiding that issue, and you'd still need to be individually working on that trigger press so that you have a better basis and trifecta, like you said. I like the word.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we don't want to have we need to have the trifecta and not just cover up for band-aids. And like gear doesn't cover up our bad training either or our bad skills. You can't. I get tired of people who will just go out there and buy gear and think that it will fix their problem. Like, oh, I need this lighter trigger because my groups suck. I need a better trigger because I can't shoot fast. I'm like, well, maybe you. And there's a lot to, ammo is short right now. We all know that. It's kind of a thing that's happening, but dry fire is free, everybody. Like, I wish more people would understand the power of effective dry fire and being able to put it as the learning space where then you can reconfirm with dry fire. But we know with drive, the affirmation would be the live fire. But we know that we can't do everything in dry fire. Like we can't control recoil in dry fire or whatnot. We can only, I mean, there's some training devices, but I don't recommend those training devices that simulate recoil because it's truly still not true recoil. But they're definitely help. You know, an airsoft gun could give you a semblance of recoil, but nothing near a major power factor load of 40 caliber and or 9mm for that matter.
Yeah, they could be useful to complement your training, but they certainly shouldn't dominate your dry fire.
Yes. And I love running around with my dry fire targets, and about once a week I will change where all the targets sit around the area. But I've lately been experimenting with hardly any open targets, a lot of hardcover and no shoots about. So I'm focusing more on the center of available target.
Yeah.
Which surprisingly, I'm not consciously slowing down at all. But it just, you just take the millisecond or whatever, hundredth or a thousandth longer to make that shot because it's an IPSC target with split down the middle that's hardcover. So you're going, and I've really been liking shooting the IPSC style targets instead of the humanoid USPSA targets because I feel that they make you need to be a little bit more accurate.
Yeah, I think that I have very little experience with the USPSA type humanoid targets. But I think that in general, the IPSC, I think what you guys call the turtle targets. Turtles. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a nice hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
In general, they're a little bit more forgiving in terms of vertical accuracy, but they less forgiving in terms of left and right than your humanoid targets.
Yeah, and I like the shape of them. I can get a lot more targets laid around when they're, this is a 1/3 size IPSC with a hardcover sticker on it. Which is fantastic. I love these things, and they're quite inexpensive to get. Like, I think I bought a pack of 12 targets and the stickers for like $13 US.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't know how that converts to rand. I don't know how much money I'd have if I lived in South Africa.
I don't know accurate currency, but we're normally trading between 14 or 15 rand to $1 US.
All right. So that's why I can get 800 rand of free shipping on 0 mag bullets if I lived in South Africa.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not bad though. But
no, it's really good.
Yeah, we'll get to in a minute your wonderful sponsors, but I love dry fire. Dry fire is so explorative for me. Like, I know I'm not as experimental as Jay is and explorative as he is, but God, is it fun to just try things. Like, about a month ago with my Hunter's HD Golds on, I did low light dry fire. Like, the main lights in my dry fire area were off, and I just had like 1 or 2 lamps on, little like bedside lamps essentially, just to give me a little bit of illumination. But it was interesting, especially since the walls are brown.
Oh yeah, that must have been an interesting session. I haven't done low light before. I think I should. Well, I haven't done it for a little while with the carry gun. So.
Well, and I didn't even I didn't have a weapon light. Like, it was before the rule change, so I didn't there was no weapon light on the gun. But it was interesting because I noticeably was not slower.
Oh, that's good.
But I mean, like, we're used to sandy brown berms, and target. It really helps because the targets kind of blended in with the walls. So
yes,
you kind of had that had to know where your transitioning was and whatnot.
It's where your eyes played a key role.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. No, dry fire is super rewarding, and spending a bit of time with that and getting into a decent routine on dry fire makes a big difference.
Yes, absolutely. I currently will spend I try for 6 days a week. Dry fire, but optimally if I miss another day, if I only get 5 and I'm okay. But I also get 2 20-minute sessions in a day. So
Yes. Okay, so you're doing 2 a days.
Yep, 2 days. I try to get one in the morning and then one after I go to work.
Okay.
So, and if that's just sometimes I don't even put on the belt and I'll just work transitions, for a session. If I don't feel like putting on the belt, but I'll put on the belt and work almost everything.
Yeah. Nice.
Now, what's your training schedule like? How much dry fire are you doing compared to live fire and kind of like time devotion to it?
So my average week is going to be probably anything between 4 and 5 dry fire sessions, and that's complemented by 2 live fire sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm typically dry firing on a Monday morning, gym Monday evening. Tuesday morning I'll do some live fire. Tuesday morning is live fire.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday night I'll do more dry fire. Wednesday morning dry fire. Wednesday night, normally we're recording for Welcome to the Gun Show on Wednesday night, so I just have the gun with me during the recording and we still manipulate it. So Thursday morning is sort of straight back into live fire again. And Wednesday night's also gym. So there's those 2 things. Thursday morning live fire, Thursday evening, gym's changed recently, so Thursday evening is dry fire again. Friday morning dry fire, and then typically Friday evening is just preparing for a match. We more often than not we're shooting a match on the Saturday morning.
And are you having matches like every week, every other week, once a month?
So at the moment it's sort of once every other week. There's sort of a match if we're lucky, we might find a match every week. So right now, this last weekend there was a match available, but I didn't shoot it because we had just got back from nationals the week before. But this coming weekend I've got a match, and the following weekend I've got a match, and then I'm not sure after that. But so we've got 2 consecutive weekends of matches coming up, but it's normally once every other weekend or so.
Okay. Yeah, I think in Michigan where I live, I could get a match once a month. No, I'm sorry. There's a match every weekend a month, but I try to only hit the most recent closest club, or my max is 3 hours. I'll drive 3 hours for a match, but that's if I know I've got like a lot of people are saying, "Hey, come to this match" and whatnot. Like there's a local club 3 hours away that one of my buddies runs, who is a high level production shooter in our area. So it's always nice to go shoot with him and watch him shoot.
Okay.
So I'll go shoot those matches, but those are more of a novelty. Or I might not even shoot the match. I might just drive up and hang out because conserving ammo, or just don't feel like shooting that day.
Yeah.
And then everyone's just like, "Did you bring your gear? And you just don't have ammo? Use my ammo." I'm like, I don't know. I just got into reloading. So, well, about early 2020, I got into reloading. So I'm still learning it. And I don't trust everybody's reloading.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming you have to reload in South Africa to get the right loads you want, because factory ammo is very harsh.
Yeah. So for us, 99.9% of the guys are reloading, and it's twofold, but the one side of the coin is much heavier than the other. So the primary reason for reloading is for ammunition costs. Factory ammo over here is expensive.
Oh yeah, even after starting reloading, I'm like, I don't want to buy factory ammo. That's too expensive. I can buy 1,000 primers for like near third the cost. Being back before before the crisis, and like I can buy 1,000 primers and I have 1,000 bullets essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the primary reason is going to be for costs. And probably the primary machine here for a lot of the guys is going to be the Dillon 650 or 750.
I have a 750 and I love it. It's a fantastic piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming you have a 650?
I'm running 750. So when they released the 750s, I was able to swap them out for 750s.
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love the priming system on the 750 compared to everyone talking about the pinwheel on the 650. I much more prefer the 750 priming system because it's simple.
Yeah.
And I had a priming issue when I first got my press, but I figured it out, which was nice because it was very straightforward. I didn't have to deal with the spin dial, the 650 or anything. So
Yeah. Yeah, all less parts on the 750. On my 750s, I also had some priming niggles when I first got it, but it's quite a bit simpler to sort out than on the 650s.
and it was interesting because it was the indexing block on the left side of the press. As you go to the
Okay.
upstroke, like you're going to
Yeah.
the upstroke to prime, the shell plate advances just slightly and squishes down to pop the indexing block was a little too far. It was indexing too far on the priming cycle. So I just had to unscrew some bolts and just adjust it just right to get it lined, the primer cup lined up with the primer essentially.
Yes.
So it was a simple fix. But I love my 750. I'm thinking about getting another one here in the not super near future, but getting another one so I can have 2. So if I decide to do another caliber, I'll have 2 presses and not have to change anything out. But
yeah, that's the easiest if you can do that. So I've got one set up for 40 and then one that does 9mm, and sort of once every year it will do some 223.
Oh, okay. See, and that's one thing I haven't looked into is rifle reloading because there's so many more extra steps to rifle reloading.
Yeah. 223 is my least favorite to reload. So
yeah, well, it takes so much more time.
That's why it happens once a year. Yeah.
See, is what you do is you get one of the guys to get their machine all set up for it, and you just go over to their house and load on their machine for it after they do all the case prep.
I should have done that, but I might become that guy.
Yeah, there you go. Be like, all right, we're going over to Cornet's house. We're gonna go load some 223.
Yeah, Cornet, do you want to get a rifle? 223.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well. But
a little bit of thunder, yeah.
Oh, no more thunder. That's bad. They could take the power out. We don't want that.
Yeah. No.
Well, since no one liked to give me any questions for you today, but I don't. It's fine. It's fine. Don't feel bad. I mean, no one gave any for Jay either, so.
It's okay.
Yeah, but it's okay. I had all the great questions anyway. And next time, exactly.
Yeah.
We will definitely have to get you back on another time. Maybe after you win, you become another world champion, well, or a national champion, whatever comes first.
Will be cool. For sure.
But who? I mean, this could be not necessarily your sponsors or partners, but who have been like your biggest mentors / supporters?
So in terms of I've got a really, really nice support system that I really appreciate. There's a lot of people that have helped me and look after me and keep me going and motivated and all those things. The first person is going to be my girlfriend, Sasha. And she's been incredible with keeping me motivated. From there, my biggest mentors are going to be my parents. They've helped me a lot. They keep me going. They keep me positive. And then from there, someone or 2 people who've actually been really incredible in terms of mentoring me and just being really awesome in terms of supporting me is going to be Tarek and Cornet. And I know for sure that I've missed a couple people here. Zama's another one. We trained together for a long time, but due to changes, we haven't trained together for a little while. Wanda Zama is one of my very good friends. He's been incredible. So there's a whole lot of people that I'm super grateful for that have helped me. And from there, I've got a really nice set of sponsors as well. We know that I'm on the Anderson shooting team with Jay and Mark. Steve's been really good to me. Jay and Mark have been really good. Jay and Mark and myself talk regularly, at least once a week. We're talking. From there, Burnout Agencies. They've helped me keep my Glocks going. They've helped me keep shooting Glocks. They're the reason that I managed to move over to the Glock 22. So I really appreciate them helping me keep all my Glocks going. Shooting Stuff is our biggest importer of Dillon Precision equipment. And they do Infinity Firearms in South Africa. They've helped me a lot in terms of reloading components and keeping the Dillons going and supporting me that way. One of my newest sponsors, Zero Mike Bullets. They're now supplying me some really, really nice bullets and they're working really well. So anyone who's South Africa who's listening to this, if you want a promo code, just give me a shout. I'll send you the code over. South Africa only, unfortunately, at the moment. Right. Guns at Work is my new home range. Part of the new province EGPSA. They've been really good in giving me facilities to practice on. Pitt Cerakote South Africa. He's done all of the Cerakote work on my guns. He's simply the best Cerakote applicator in the country, without a doubt. He's got the best skills. He's got the most meticulous handiwork and artwork. It's simply awesome. Boss Ninja for helping with all of the apparel and shooting shirts. And Bad Baxter Productions. They do a whole lot of video editing and that sort of stuff for me when I need it. And then I'd also just like to thank Disney CZ Accessories for getting me all of the aftermarket parts and goodies and that are stuck onto the Glock 22. It's working like a charm. And obviously, welcome to the gun show again, Tarek and Corner. It's been awesome to have that podcast and that sort of camaraderie. So,
yeah, and I mean, honestly, with all those people supporting you, it makes it's almost like you want to perform at the top level to that their support does not go unnoticed and unappreciated when you can pull out a match win or whatnot.
Yeah. No, they've all been truly awesome. All of the guys who support me and my sponsors, I really appreciate everything they do. So,
and it's quite nice to be able to give back to them in some way. Even if it's sending a local guy at the range to them, say, hey, go get your guns here, or
yeah,
tell them Garrett sent you, or that might not be 100%. A good thing sometimes.
It depends,
right?
So, yeah, no, they've all been good.
Definitely. And speaking before we near get the end, but Anderson Shooting did the Anderson Insiders, which I'm a proud member of the Insiders, and I really like the content you guys put out. If you guys didn't know, the Anderson Insiders program is a dog attack.
Yeah, Onyx is it started. We've got quite a big storm here, so Onyx ran inside and hello, my boy.
Oh, so cute. But yeah, the Insider program is a fabulous paid little cheap. It's quite honestly very cost-effective program for anyone to get the insides from you guys. Like, if you want to talk about it just a little bit.
Yeah, so the Anderson Insider is a really nice thing that Steve's put together. We've put on quite a bit of nice content on there and makes it worthwhile to become an insider. It's actually, from what I can convert, it's nice and affordable, and you get a lot of information and content for what you put in. There's some videos there of us doing the 12 drills. I've got some other slightly different concepts and ideas. And the 12 drills I'm referring to are Steve's refinement and repetition drills, his first book.
Yes, the first book.
The first book. The firstest.
Yes, the first book. I still don't own that book. I need to get on that one. I'm surprised it's been this long and I still haven't gotten the book, but
yeah. No, you need the book for sure.
Yeah, definitely need the book. And then he's coming out, you get Steve's podcast prep, which is nice because then you don't have to take notes. I actually have started downloading all of them and putting them on my computer because it's just nice to have, but they definitely do take context though. When he for someone not listening to the show and getting and not getting it, it really wouldn't make sense. 100% makes sense because you always miss the visual, well, the audio commentary with the notes. Yeah.
Yes. But and the other thing, I think I can't remember what he's got a really short book, or not a short book, but he's uploading onto a book fairly regularly, which is nice, simple, short, easy to understand tips and tricks and how to solve your problems now. And then I think he's got the full get to work book in audio format on there as well. So there's really a lot on there to work with. And then there's a couple of videos of us talking together, myself, Jay, Mark, and Steve, as the team Anderson Shooting, talking about different concepts and ideas. And there's some stuff of Steve talking to Jay. So there's really a lot of nice info on there.
There is. I mean, the hardest part is getting all four of you on a computer, on a call at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean,
the time difference plays a role.
Yeah, because, you're ahead of us by 6 hours. Mark Sue is behind us by 3 hours, but behind Jay, Steve, and I at 3 hours. So it makes it very difficult to accommodate you and accommodate Mark. But I think the time we set out today isn't terrible to accommodate for everyone.
No, it's perfect for me. Now the biggest difference is that Mark's about 10 hours behind me. You guys are between 6 and 7 behind me. So normally it's quite a bit easier to get onto a call with Jay and Steve, depending on what they're getting up to. And normally it's difficult to tie myself and Mark into a call because of that difference. So what we'll often do is I'll jump on late at night and then we'll do the call, or late-ish at night. Yeah.
Late-ish at night for you, or late-ish for?
Depends. But probably anything between 10 and 11.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so like 4 hours later. Yeah, so not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah,
not super late. Not like in the middle of the night. You're just trying to stay
no,
awake.
it's not early hours of the morning.
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
it's definitely true. But Gaz, like I said, I really greatly appreciate you coming on. You were super excited to come on, and I'm really greatly appreciate that. And we've been communicating back and forth, like I've said, and it's been fantastic. And I hope to keep up our communications after this, and we'll get you back on the show at some point. Maybe we can even get you and Jay on at some point together. That'd be pretty exciting, I think.
Oh yeah. No, that would be cool. I'd be really happy to come back onto the show, and thanks for having me on the show and being patient. It's been really awesome. I think worth the wait.
Oh, absolutely. I think so too. And I think my guests will appreciate someone not from the US shooting at a high level and learning some things from the wonderful Gaz. So I'm going to thank the listeners. Welcome. Thank you guys for watching today or listening, however you choose to absorb this format. I greatly appreciate your patronage and watching or listening. Podcasts are going to come out whenever they come out, guys. I've been sticking to a 1 week timeline. I might go back to 2 weeks every other week just due to the fact of recording schedules and who I've got down the pipeline. I'm really excited. Like I'm recording with Gaz today, or we've had Gaz on today. The next day, hopefully, will be our favorite junior shooter, Tim Herron. We've got a date set down for that, so that'll be exciting. But awesome. Until next time, guys, I thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.